This was never supposed to be a moment the world would remember. It was just another quiet morning in the BBC studio, until the universe decided it was time for someone to be humbled and for a nation to be honored. Hours before the broadcast, the studio buzzed softly with preparation. Lights flickered on, cameras warmed, assistants hurried back and forth holding cue cards and microphones. And in the middle of all that noise stood Dr. Alina Reyes, a Filipina linguist, gentle in her presence, steady in her breathing, prepared in her mind. She wasn't loud. She didn't demand attention. But there was a quiet power in the way she carried herself, as if she had walked through storms before and learned to make peace with thunder. As she waited, she reviewed her notes with calm confidence. She'd been invited to discuss global English, something she had spent her life studying. She felt grateful for the opportunity. She felt proud to represent her country. She felt ready. But what she didn't know was that someone had already judged her. Across the room, the reporter assigned to interview her whispered to a coworker. His eyes flicked toward her with a smirk that carried assumptions, a smirk that millions of Filipinos have felt directed at them, at airports, at offices, in classrooms, in workplaces across the world, a smirk that meant, "You're less. You're not as good. Your English isn't real." He didn't know she heard the faint sound of laughter. He didn't know she felt the sting. He didn't know that the same sting had been carried by countless OFWs, students, nurses, caretakers, engineers, and dreamers who battled stereotype after stereotype with silent strength. She simply breathed in and exhaled grace. Then came the countdown. 3, 2, 1, live. The reporter smiled for the camera, introducing the segment. His tone was polished, but his eyes held the same dismissive glint. He welcomed Dr. Reyes with a polite but hollow greeting. She responded with a warm, genuine smile. But just seconds into her introduction, the moment that would ignite the internet happened. He leaned forward, squinted, tilted his head, and with a tone coated in mockery, he said, "Sorry, could you repeat that? I'm having a bit of trouble understanding your English." The world seemed to pause. A silence swept through the studio, the kind that freezes the body, tightens the chest, and burns the heart. The kind that every Filipino abroad knows too well. That familiar ache of being judged, not for who you are, but for where you're from. Dr. Reyes didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't show anger. She simply looked at him. A long, calm, heartbreaking stare, not of offense, but of recognition. Recognition of all the times Filipinos had been underestimated. Recognition of all the brilliance ignored because of an accent. Recognition of all the pride swallowed in silence. After 3 aching seconds, she smiled softly and said, "Of course. If you're struggling to understand me, I can speak in the accent of your choice." The reporter laughed lightly, thinking he had won, but he had only opened the door for his own downfall. Without warning, Dr. Reyes shifted effortlessly into perfect British English, cleaner, sharper, more precise than his own. The reporter blinked, then she moved into flawless American English, warm, confident, broadcast quality. The reporter gulped, then Australian English, natural, accurate, expressive, and finally neutral global English, polished, professional, elegant. The studio was silent, not a breath, not a sound, only the quiet realization that something historic had just happened. The cameras captured the reporter's face, the fading arrogance, the growing shame, the sudden understanding that he had judged someone far greater than himself. But Dr. Reyes didn't stop with accents. She delivered a line that would echo across continents. "English is not owned by any one country. It is a global language, and Filipinos are among the best at adapting to it." Millions would later say they felt chills. Some cried, some stood up from their chairs, some whispered, "Salamat." Some whispered, "That's us." Some whispered, "Finally." Before the segment ended, support flooded online. Filipinos across the world, from Dubai to Canada, from Hong Kong to London, watched the clip and felt something rise in their chest. Pride, validation, representation, and the long-awaited feeling of being seen. But the story wasn't over. The moment the broadcast ended, the studio felt like a different world. Dr. Reyes calmly removed her microphone, unaware that her name was already exploding across the internet. She simply thanked the staff, bowed slightly as Filipinos so often do, and stepped outside into the cold London air. Inside the studio, some crew members exchanged glances. Some shook their heads. Some whispered apologies under their breath, not to her but to themselves, for not defending her sooner. The reporter sat frozen at his desk. His fingers trembled slightly as he scrolled through the early reactions. Messages were already pouring in. "You disrespect Filipinos? This is what you get." She handled that with more grace than he deserved. This is why the world loves the Filipino spirit. Accent does not measure intelligence. She represented 10 million OFWs today. He felt the weight of every message. Meanwhile, Dr. Reyes walked to a small cafe just a block from the studio. She ordered a tea, sat quietly by the window, and allowed herself a moment to breathe. She wasn't angry. She wasn't vengeful. She was simply tired. Tired in the way many Filipinos are tired. Not from weakness, but from carrying dignity in the face of insult. She thought of the Filipino nurses who get mocked for their accent, but save lives every day. She thought of Filipino teachers whose students adore them, even if their vowels sound different. She thought of Filipino call center agents who switch accents effortlessly to help strangers across the world. She thought of every OFW who has cried silently after being belittled, but continued working anyway. She whispered softly, "Para sa inyo ito." For you. This moment is for all of you. Back online, the clip continued to spread like wildfire. Celebrities reacted. Journalists reacted. Schools played it in classrooms. Even linguists posted breakdown videos praising her mastery. One expert wrote, "What she displayed is not just skill. It is linguistic brilliance. Only someone with true mastery can switch accents on command with that level of control." The Philippines was awake by then, and the entire nation was roaring with pride. Families gathered around phones. Barcadas shared it in group chats. OFWs watched it during their breaks, some wiping tears they didn't expect. "Finally," they said, "finally someone showed the world who we are." Meanwhile, BBC management requested an internal review. The reporter was asked to explain himself. His statement wavered. He insisted it was misinterpreted. But the world had already judged what they saw. And they saw disrespect. Yet Dr. Reyes never demanded punishment. She never attacked him. When interviewed later, she simply said, "I hope he grows. Not for my sake, but for everyone he will meet after me." That single sentence softened even her critics. Days passed, but the clip never died. It became more than a moment. It became a symbol of Filipino resilience, a symbol of Filipino brilliance, a symbol of a people who don't seek conflict, but rise with dignity when challenged. Finally, Dr. Reyes posted one message on her social media page. Simple, honest, emotional. To every Filipino who has ever been shamed for your English, remember this. Your voice is beautiful. Your story is powerful. Your accent carries your history, your culture, your home. Never let anyone make you smaller. You belong in every room. You belong in every conversation. And you deserve to be heard. Millions shared her words. In the end, a reporter tried to mock a single Filipina. But he awakened the pride of an entire nation. Because when the world doubts a Filipino, they don't break. They rise, they shine. They conquer with humility and brilliance. and no accent, no matter how different, can silence the truth. Filipinos do not just speak English. They elevate it, they refine it, they own it. This is not just her story. This is the story of millions, and it will be remembered for generations.